Hey guys, let's talk about tonight's episode of Scandal. And it was a little more lighthearted this episode than last week's, which was so dark and twisted and was all about Jake. But this episode, it was like a political showdown between Mellie and Olivia, and no, well, not Mellie, but Olivia and Abbie for their candidates, which is Mellie and Elizabeth Ross. So there were two really major standout scenes for me in this episode. I don't really necessarily want to go through the entire episode because it was good, and there was stuff that happened between with Cyrus and his lover Michael, and Michael called him out for cheating on him, and he knows who he's been cheating with, and it's Tom. And of course, Cyrus threatens him, and he's basically like, "You don't want to go down this road. You don't want to open up this can of worms." And then Michael does something on Cyrus's behalf by getting rid of Alex, and then Michael leaves him. So, oh, and he took the child. So that was a good little twist at the end. But so that kind of happened, and we also saw stuff with David Ross and the relationship between Elizabeth Ross and him play out, and it worked more in David Rosen's favor than it did against him. But really, the crux of the episode was obviously about Olivia. And last week, we sort of sidelined the fact that she had murdered Andrew. I can't remember his last name, but the VP, the ex VP, and she violently murdered him, bashed a chair over his face several times until he was basically unrecognizable. And so this episode was a little bit finally talking about that and sort of the ramifications of that. And I like that we had a lot of different people's reactions or their feelings about it kind of came out in this episode. So, we first had the conversation between Quinn and Huck and Olivia, and she's just like, Olivia freaks out on them, and Quinn's like, "Who the hell is this person?" Like, obviously, what she has done has changed Olivia, and we all know that, but we're really starting to see it play out. And so that was the first moment. And then, of course, we have the moment at the end with Abbie and that great conversation that she has with Fitz, which is like, where she feels a little bit guilty, and she's trying to say, "I didn't make her do it. It wasn't my fault. I'm not the reason why Olivia killed Andrew. That's all on her." But then she's really upset, obviously, because her best girlfriend did this, and it was, she must have been super scared and afraid and hurt and all those things to have done such a violent thing. So, to see her reaction with Fitz was really good, and then Fitz to say, find yourself a line that you can pull yourself out of this guilty phase, and just sort of be able to realize that it's not your fault, and be okay with that. So there was that moment, and then of course there was one of the best moments, one of the two moments, which was of course the one with Mellie and Fitz on the tarmac, and then the one later with Olivia and Huck, and I'll get to that one. So first we have, of course, the basically Olivia and Abbie are going head to head because Olivia's mad at Abbie, Abbie's mad at Olivia, and there's a showdown between the two planes, the Air Force One and the plane that Mellie's on. And of course, there's this protocol that you can't take off unless the Air Force One is taken off. And so Abbie's like, digging in her heels, and she's at a standstill. So of course, Mellie decides she's going to get off the plane and have a conversation with Fitz, which is, of course, it drags on for quite a while, but then we really get to the substance of it, which is hilarious to me because, the power of Olivia is basically what it is. And Mellie starts talking about Olivia and that she's different and she's been acting weird. And then, of course, Fitz is like, be careful what you say, because he doesn't realize that Mellie doesn't know that Olivia is the one that killed Andrew. And so then he reveals that to Mellie, and she's like, "Well, that's why she's been acting strange. She's not eating, she's not sleeping, she's not running, she's not swimming. I mean, she's just suggesting her to go swim." So it's like these two are having like this moment where they're like bonding over Olivia, and it's so weird because it's like, hello, this is his mistress, and this is like the woman that cheated on your husband with, and now she's running your campaign, and now you guys are both talking about her like she's like your best girlfriend in the whole world. And like they're like, you, all three of you are friends. And it was just such a like weird but powerful conversation, because in that moment it's sort of like Fitz is realizing like Olivia is obviously obviously she's not okay. She just murdered somebody, but she's really not dealing with it well. And then Mellie basically says, you need to move this plane because it's not just for me, because she's losing it right now. So if you don't fix this, then you're just prolonging like what's stuff that's going on with Olivia. So that conversation was fascinating. And it was just, of course, it started off with like, them rambling back and forth. And, because obviously they haven't spoken because Fitz has refused to talk to her, but he congratulates her on how well she's doing and blah blah blah. But then she's like, okay, well, I need you to move the plane. He's like, well, I'm not gonna move a plane. And then that's how they get into the whole Olivia conversation, which just is pretty powerful. I really enjoyed that conversation because they just both seemed very concerned for her. And then he's got like his furrowed brow, and he's all like, well, make sure she swims, make sure she's exercising, make sure she's running, make sure she's eating, make sure she's sleeping. So it's like all this concern. And then what does he do? He moves the plane. So they get to go to their destination, and whatever happens there, fine. Fitz ends up showing up to help Mellie. It doesn't work out in their favor because David Rosen does what was asked of him at the very beginning of the episode, and that's why this woman then endorses Elizabeth. But then ultimately Doyle wins the nomination from her, or the endorsement, or no, sorry. He ends up winning Florida, which is what they were all vying for at the beginning of this episode. But, to me, the political stuff that's going on, like the race for the White House with Doyle and all that, it's just like so, like subject B and C and D in this whole thing. But the stuff going on with Olivia was pretty impressive. And one of the things that Quinn had said to Olivia when they were sitting on the tarmac was, why are we sitting here when we could be helping Jake? And that's the $1 million question. But of course, we all know that at the end of last week's episode, Father Papa Pope was the worst. And he threatened Olivia and said, if you go near him, if you talk to him, if you do anything to change the course that we're going on, I will slit Jake's throat. So my second favorite conversation in this episode was, of course, when Huck goes up to Olivia and he's like, are you okay? And she's like, I'm fine. In fact, I'm happy that I bashed his face, and I felt good. Like when I saw his face crushed in the ground, I felt good with his blood on me, and I'm like, like someone's going crazy. Seriously. And so then she's all like, yeah, I mean, I actually feel good. Like, I'm fine with that moment. And Eureka's, listen, I would have bashed his face in too, because he was a prick, and he was the worst, and he did have her kidnapped and tortured and all that kind of stuff. But so the fact that she's basically gloating in it was, kind of hard to watch, but fine, whatever. And then, so she's got this look on her face like, why are you looking at me like that? And then Huck's like, well, I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for you to finish. And this is when she breaks down and she admits that her father, threatened Jake's life. The reason why I can't go look for Jake or help Jake is because my father basically said, if you go near him, if you see him, if you talk to him, if you do anything, I will slit his throat. And she just completely breaks down. And it's such a great moment because once again, like after her kidnapping, she really didn't deal with that whole, kidnapping thing very well. And here we are again. She's just murdered somebody. She's done this horrific act, and she's completely, dealing with it wrong. And so she finally has a moment where she breaks down and she's bawling her eyes out in front of Huck. And she's basically like, if we try to do anything, he's going to kill Huck. I mean, he's going to kill Jake. And in that moment, you get that she really does care about Jake, and she doesn't want anything bad to happen to him. And she had to really eviscerate him in last week's episode at the end just to save his life, pretty much, right? So, we finally get to deal with some of the consequences of her actions, with what she did with Jake, and then what, of course, she did with Andrew. And, she, of course, always, Kerry Washington's amazing and had some awesome scenes. But yeah, we need to get her some help, stat, okay? Because it ain't looking good for her. So I think we only have like one episode left before it goes to the finale. So I'm just, obviously very interested to see how the season's going to end. So before the episode ends, the governor or senator that Cyrus has been working with, he fires his brother because he thinks that his brother leaked photos of him and his sick daughter to the press, which really didn't happen. It was actually Michael who gave him like a like a corrupted thumb drive, and then pictures got emailed to the press. So he fires the his brother. So now Cyrus is sitting in a much better position with Senator Vargas, and that's of course exactly what he wanted. But then he gets home, and Michael's gone. The closet has been cleaned out, and his daughter is missing. So whoa, that was interesting. So yeah, and now it looks like finally Abbie and Olivia are going to mend fences. They're going to get together. They're going to work together so that they can take down Doyle. Because in all this fighting, in-house fighting between the two of them, Doyle has gotten away with, winning Florida. And now they realize that all the things that they're doing is not helping. And another great moment was when Abbie was like, "When did you start hating me?" Because this was obviously before the whole Andrew killing thing. And Olivia's like, "Look, I'm happy for you, but I basically got, Fitz to the White House. I did all these things for Fitz in the White House, and I built up the White House." And she's basically says, "I want it back. I want that power back." She says, "I'm happy for you, but I want it back." And so, I think it's going to be interesting to see how the two of them work together to, one, get rid of Doyle, and whether they help to get Mellie or Elizabeth into the office. Who knows, whatever they're going to do. But, it was nice to see that the two of them could come together at the end and realize that they do have the same common goals. And then, like Olivia said, I built you. Like, she created Abbie, and now Abbie's running the White House. But that's what Olivia not secretly, but that's what she wants. She wants that power, she wants that status. And she doesn't have it because she walked away from it because she didn't want to be with Fitz anymore. So guess what, Olivia? You can't have it all. So there it is. Good episode. I enjoyed it. All this political stuff was, kind of funny, and just seeing it all play out was hilarious. But like I said, those were my two favorite moments, the scene with Mellie and Fitz, and then at the end with Olivia and Huck. Very powerful scenes. So let me know what you thought of this week's episode. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.